Apologies one and all, but I have returned hopefully in time, and we will see if Gupta has retained his record, his clean sweep of pole positions so far this season. Here at the Mexico City Grand Prix, where there is an atmosphere like no other, where grand Mexican crowd assembled, cheering on their home favourite Sergio Perez when Formula One rolls into town. But here in Formula Premier, we have stars to be admired. It seems like we're not going to be able to see the remaining qualifying action, but it does seem like Hydrant is on provisional pole, and he will be, as everyone has completed their qualifying laps. Hydrant is the driver, Red Bull is the team to displace Gupta's qualifying dominance so far this season. Gupta has to settle for P4 in the end, slip after crashing out, so after being on pole settings for P3, Barney P2, but it is Hydrant's qualifying session. And my oh my, we have a stellar race ahead of us. So there you can see the qualifying order. Hydrant on pole, Barney Dog second. What a lap from the McLaren. Slick third, Gupta fourth, Revokes fifth. Then we have Tabulet Storm, Axel, Pudge Dog, Zazan Bodka, and Gatekeeper. If I just scroll down to the very bottom, so you can see that as well. But Hydrant, he's the man to displace Gupta. His clean sweep of pole positions diminishes, and a pole position record which has been peerless and perfect is perfect no more. So it seems like someone has already pressed ready up, which will not please the drivers. But the sprint is going to shortly come about. The drivers have time to just assemble their strategies, tweak their setups, and then we will be into the sprint. I don't think the drivers are especially pleased that we have rather prematurely jumped into the sprint action. But the formation lap will now be underway. So then, Hydrant on pole position. He leads Barney Dog, and you can see every single driver on the medium compound tyres. And in this 12-lap sprint, it is understandable. Of course, the drivers want that initial grip off the line using the softs, but with tyre wear being not exceptionally high, but high enough for the soft to degrade, as we didn't see in the Mexican Grand Prix a few weeks ago. But tyre wear can be harming enough around this track, and the degradation can be quite high too. So the drivers choosing the mediums, that does give them that speed, but crucially that durability as well. Safety cars can appear around this track. In real life Formula One, we have seen safety cars in 2015 thanks to Sebastian Vettel's crash towards the end of the Grand Prix in 2016, as Pascal Wehrlein crashed out through the second corner. 2021, after that multi-car crash involving Esteban Ocon, Yuki Tsunoda and Mick Schumacher. But we will see in this sprint, never before has real life Formula One performed a sprint around this track, but in the hands of Formula Premier, we will have a fascinating instalment of the sprint ahead. Hydrant's leading the pack, the first driver this season other than Gupta to put his car on pole. He leads Barney Dog, the McLaren, joining him on the front row, and for McLaren that have previously only had a qualifying position high of P5 this season. And that's if you include the sprint. Excluding the sprints, it's only P7. But the first driver other than Gupta to start on pole this season. There'll be many other firsts as well. Hydrant versus Barney Dog, the front row. Slick versus Gupta, the second row. And we have an intriguing sprint ahead of us here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And we are sprinting away in Mexico. Oh, Barney, that's a horrid start. He drops down the order. Gupta rocketing off of the line. He's drawing side by side with the leading pair. They're going to run side by side as Robbo Snipes crashing into the wall in the opening chapters of this race, but it's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Gupta is going to concede it. It looks like the safety car has been deployed. Hydrant leading, Gupta second, Slick third. And it's a horrid start there for Barney, who's down already into P6, but the safety car deployed. I mentioned it, that the safety car can appear around this track. But as Robbo Snipes crashes just a few meters into this sprint, he will line up P15 for the start of the Grand Prix. But it's Hydrant that leads Gupta, Slick down to third, Tabulet Storm up to fourth. And then we have Pudge Dog fifth, Barney down to sixth, then Gatekeeper, Zazon Barchka, Burton and a Kerdre. But that was a wild start to the sprint, and Gupta, within touching distance of the lead, was not able to claim it. But with the safety car out on track, let's see if any drivers are going to take the opportunity to pit to the soft compound tyres. Axel will definitely pit and replace his broken front wing. But with the safety car out on track, the drivers reassemble in formation. So Gupta thinking about going with Finks again. And let's see who will be the leading driver to come into the pits. It looks like it will be Excel. So every driver remaining out on track, not wanting to switch to the soft compound tyres, noting that tyre wear is still going to be a problem, as we are only just, over a lap into this sprint. But Excel is going to pit to the medium compound tyres. Revokes is also going to pit to the medium compound tyres. Remember as well that the drivers used up a lot of soft tyres in qualifying, so they would be limited, and they would probably prefer to use them during the Grand Prix proper. But behind the safety car here in Mexico City, after an action-packed start, which has seen Robbo Snipes crash out of proceedings, we are with 14 drivers who will battle it on. I'm going to have a look at this crash and try and analyse it from Robbo Snipes' perspective. So as the drivers are still behind the safety car, I will have a quick look at Robbo Snipes' premature end to the sprint. So he gets away, he struggles off the line, it seems, with a lot of wheel spin, and then he's just being after the hats, it looks like, as Revokes was spinning ahead, the Ferrari collected him. Let's have a look once more. So a lot of wheel spin off the line. It seems like Axel forced off the road, spinning back onto the track. Revokes also into a spin. So Revokes facing the start line. So he puts into a 180 spin. And then, Robbo Snipes thundering into Axel and concluding his sprint just a mere 100 metres into it. So on lap 3 of 12 here in Mexico City, Hydrant leads the sprint ahead of Gupta. We've only had a few hundred worth of action so far. But we have Hydrant from Gupta. Slick, I said he dropped down the order. Of course he started from third place, but he has been overtaken by Gupta. He has gained a place on Barney Dog. Oh, that was So close to contact there between, I think, Slick and Tabulate Storm. And behind the safety car, you do not want to have a crash. You do not want to lose your front wing and your chances in this sprint needlessly under safety car running. But let's hope the safety car will peel off into the pits at the conclusion of this lap. It seems likely, and it will. So Hydrant's becoming the de facto safety car as we will soon back underway here in Mexico City with Gupta right behind him, hounding him. He has a good chance with a long straight of beckoning. Gupta will hope he can get the slipstream and close in on our sprint leader. When does Hydrant choose to go? We're coming through the Mansell corner now. Gupta is hounding Hydrant and we're back underway here in Mexico City. Gupta already closing in on our sprint leader. Pujdog passing Tablet Storm, so it's not been the best start for the Red Bull. Gupta weaving this way, that way, trying to gain temperature into his closing in. Tablet Storm trying to launch an attack. He's climb back a place on Pujdog, and there is a massive coming together into turn one as Gupta loses the car, loses the rear end of the car. He's been collected, I think, by, not sure if it's Barney Dog, it may have just been Slick, who has a time penalty that's into second. Tablet Storm up into third, Gatekeeper into fourth, and almost colliding there with the Red Bull. But Gupta, who has actually collided with his teammate, so Pudge collecting his teammate. Disaster for AlphaTauri at this safety car restart. Both drivers will have to pit at the end of this lap as Gupta battling away with Burton in the Aston Martin. It is dejection, it is despair, it is disconsolate for the constructors, leaders here in Formula Premier as Burton takes a place on Gupta, with Lioran Tessa earning himself a time penalty. A Kerdre down the inside of Gupta, riding the curbs, progressing past, but Gupta forced off-road, having to slow down and letting all the drivers through. This has been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare for the championship leader who was looking to make it 6 wins out of 6 at the start of this season. This run looks like it's going to come to an end. His teammate pitting, Tabulate Storm pitting. It's been an absolute nightmare for the pair of them. Gupta, as AlphaTauri are having to double stack, Gupta right behind his teammate. But we cast our attention back onto the action out on the tray ahead of Axel. The Alfa Romeo hounding down the prancing horse. And as Hydrant leads out in front, Slick, well, is within a second but is carrying a time penalty. So on the track, the Haas wants to seize the initiative, and after crashing out in qualifying, he wants to seize back the supremacy. On board once more with Axel as revokes, granting himself a time penalty on board with the Alfa Romeo right behind the Kerdre, who is Aston Martin of Burton. It's a 3-way scrap, it's a 4-way scrap, it's a 5-way scrap, it's a 6-way scrap for 6th place. And as you can see, Lioran Tessa tapping revokes the Haas, sent into a spin and dropping down the order. And as we're back underway here for the third lap of green flag action after the safety car, Slick setting the fastest lap of the race, closing in on Hydrant. Barney Dog closing in on Gatekeeper in the battle for P3, but a Kerdre and Burton running side by side. The Aston Martin on the outside defending the position from the Ferrari. They will continue their battle side by side into turn 3. Burton is forced off the road. A Kerdre is ahead. Axel is joining the fight though. It's the race towards turn 4. The Ferrari edging ahead. The Aston Martin of Burton, is he going to launch an attack to the inside? He's going to preserve the place, it seems, ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and indeed he does. An epic battle between these drivers on lap 6 of 12 of this sprint. Axel now having to defend from the J-Lol. The Williams in P9 after starting outside the top 10, but Burton, it seems like he's struggling. The Alfa Romeo of Axel has an interest of 7th place. He's going to run side by side with the Aston. He chooses the inside. He switches to the outside, going into the stadium section. Can he make the move? Oh, it's a bliss of bravado from Axel. A work of art as he powers ahead of the Aston Martin and taps with gatekeeper. The Williams losing positions after going for a spin. That was superb. Absolutely brilliant from Axel there, but Slick closing in on Hydrant. The J-Lo passing Burton. The Aston Martin now down into weight, but Axel being passed by the J-Lo. The Williams looking to revitalise his race, but the Aston Martin and the Alpha going side by side once more. The Aston is ahead. And off of the exit of turn 3, he reconfirms his supremacy ahead of the Alpha. What a battle. Pudgedog then setting the quickest lap of this race so far, and Slick then, while we were focusing on that action, Slick with the time penalty to be carried takes over the lead out in front. Hydrant's lead has closed, it has been reduced, and it has been evaporated due to the Haas's supreme speed, and the pole sitter is now down into P2 in this sprint. But as they charge on towards the start-finish straight, could there be a chance for Hydrant to reclaim the place through the Mansell corner? And across the start-finish line, the DRS zone is looming for the Red Bull. How much can he close in on the Haas? Gupta is a lap behind, and actually, as much as he is ghosting, he is keeping within touching distance of Hydrant. But here comes a Kurd race side by side with Zazon Vodka with the use of DRS with some healthy top end speed. He looks to progress ahead of Zazon Vodka, and he grants himself the place going into turn 1. Axel coming back at Burton. The Aston trying to hang it around the outside of turn 1, but it comes to absolutely no use, and Axel progressing back past into 7th place, and the J-Lo seemingly leaving the session for a brief moment. He has left the session. Zazon Vodka jumping ahead of him. Axel and Burton will follow suit. So this is it for the J-Lo, who is going to be losing places. And after starting this sprint so well, it's going to get away from him. Axel now focusing his attention upon Zazon Vodka, the McLaren, running ahead, but for how much longer? With DRS on towards the stadium section, it looks like Axel is just going to slot in behind and look to utilise DRS down the start-finish straight. But look how close he gets to the McLaren through the braking zone of the hairpin. Burton also passing the J-Lo, so the Aston now back up into 7th place, taking the place on the Williams that he lost to a couple of other drivers. But Pudgedog now through the S's crashes out, and that brings out yet another yellow flag period and brings out yet another safety car. The action calms once more. The action calms once more, and this for Slick is going to be quite degenerative, as he does have a time penalty to be served, and well, he's going to have minimal laps to eke out a gap, which he did formerly have. That wasn't much, but with Barney Dog and the Kurdre closing in as well, Slick could have the disastrous prospect of starting outside the top 3, which, okay, maybe isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's going to hinder his chances come the Grand Prix proper. So then on lap 10 of 12 in this sprint, Slick leads, but with a time penalty to be served. Hydrant, who started from pole, currently runs second. You can see the J-Lo pitting. He is going to drop down seemingly in 11. It won't be P12, but you can see on your screens the varying fortunes of the drivers. You can see Slick, who started from 3rd, he leads, but does have a time penalty to be served. De Kudre started from outside the top 10. He runs inside the top 4. Burton also gaining 7 places alongside Tessa. The big losers so far in this sprint. Happy that Storm, Gupta, Pudge Dog and Robbo Snipes, who could not compete beyond 200 metres. You can see the JLL, Tablet Storm and Gupta all out on track on the soft compound tyres. This is, well, not going to be the most ideal thing for them, as they still have to rapidly close back up on the pack, and as the safety car peels into the pits at the conclusion of this lap, they're not going to close in on them at all. So that is going to be painful for, well, Tablet Storm and Gupta in particular, and it seems like the JLL spinning through the S's. That's going to cost him time, but Hydrant dropping right behind Slick. Remember, he can't exceed 10 car lengths, but Slick puts down the power, it seems, and Hydrant spinning, loses a handful of positions, and after from pole, he is going to have a remarkable comeback on his hands if he is to enjoy success in the Grand Prix hop proper. Barney Dog up into second, a Curdray third, Axel fourth, but the Alpha trying to make an impression on the Ferrari going into turn one. Look at the confidence he has to the outside. Oh, and as he progresses past the Ferrari, that is a remarkable, truly remarkable overtake from the Alpha. A Curdray gave it everything, but he is left without anything in that battle. Burton progressing up into P4. A Curdray is down into P5, and there's a spinner, it's revokes. So the Haas also losing a couple of positions, but for Hydrant, who is now down into P10, he's not going to score any points in this sprint, it seems. Remembering that the points are distributed between first and 8th. Hydrant is 10th. Hydrant is 10th. Looking promising for sprint success. He is going to have so much to do as Fiorentina crashing out of this sprint, meeting the wall like Pudge Dog and Robert Snipes did earlier in this race. Well, Robert Snipes crashed into another car, not the wall. But Fiorentina will allow Hydrant to go. Hydrant has 2 seconds to close in on Gatekeeper if he does want to score a point in this sprint. But on the final lap of this sprint, you can see a Curdray pouncing upon Burton down the start-finish straight. How healthy is his top-end speed? What are the prospects of the Ferrari claiming 4th place? The Aston later on the brakes going into turn 1, but a Curdray remains in the battle. They continue to run side by side, but it looks like a Curdray will have to relinquish and concede in this battle, but he will get back into the slipstream of the Aston as they race towards turn 4. He's going to brake to the outside, but the Aston defending so well and keeping that 4th place intact. As Slick leads, he leads by only 2.7 seconds, so it seems probable that Barney Dog, after qualifying P2, and it seems like on his debut here in Formula Premier T1, he is going to start the Mexico City Grand Prix from pole position as a opportunistic to find there from the Ferrari, but as Slick rounds the corner, he will take the checkered flag first, but it is going to be Barney Dog on debut who will start the Mexico City Grand Prix from the very front. Axel third, Burton coming home 4th, but Curdray will pick him due to the Aston's time penalty. Hydrant 5th in the end, so he does claim points. Stays on Bodka 6th, revokes 7th. Colliding with the McLaren after the line. Burton 8th, Gatekeeper 9th, the JLOL 10th. Then we have Tablet Storm 11th ahead of Gupta. But my oh my, what a scintillating sprint that was. And after 12 laps of that, we revel at the prospect of a 36 lap race. So then, what a sprint that was. We have a 36-lap Grand Prix ahead of us. And my oh my, what a prospect it will be. What an event it will be. So let's hope that no driver readies up. So as we wait and hope that the action will soon be delivered. So then it looks like we are going to restart this lobby. So you're going to have to bear with us for just a few moments. So yeah, we're going to be allowing the main lobby to be assembled. So then just give us a few moments and we will hope to be back in just a few moments' time. Okay, sorry, one and all. It seems like we're just waiting for this lobby to be assembled and then we will get underway. But what a sprint that was! We had so many intriguing battles in the end with some, wow, twists and turns, teasing, trembling twists and turns. And for the 36th lap, so then, just like I said, bear with us for just a few moments and we will get this sprint and this Grand Prix sorted. So then, I am back, and we are about to get this Grand Prix underway. So the drivers will be able to assemble their setups and choose their tyre strategies. We have a riveting Grand Prix ahead of us. Remember that Gupta will be starting outside the top 10. He has a record to retain. That is the name of the game for him today. But could it? Surely it's improbable. Surely it's implausible. Surely it would be an inhumane effort. But we know of Gupta's ability. So then, the drivers will wait. They'll get ready to just get into action. And then we will soon be underway. So then, like I said, Mexico has this track sits so high above sea level, so the amount of downforce produced is cut, so the teams will be running as wide of rear wings as possible. That is why it's in comparison to Monaco in terms of the downforce levels around this track. But they reach speeds down the straights of over 200 miles per hour, akin to Monza. So then it seems like the drivers are just still gathering their setups together, just trying to maximise what they have with their cars. Obviously, this grid being formed due to the sprint result. We've had to find a new lobby due to um, the penalties being applied in the sprint. Some harshly, some admittedly fairly. We have a thrilling 36-lap race ahead of us. Gupta, 5 wins out of 5 so far this season. He is without a pole position, though, around Mexico City. What can he do from so far down on the grid? We will have to see. We have another epic instalment of Formula Premier ahead of us. After an engrossing sprint, the drivers are going to go at it for 36 laps. If you have got accustomed to me commentating in Formula Premier like this, we may just have a treat for you next time out. I won't mention anything just yet other than what I've already mentioned, but, well, we have an something quite exciting for the commentary section of this league coming up. So then, the clock ticks down, and we are soon going to get underway for this Mexico City Grand Prix. The drivers have adjusted their setups, they have chosen their strategies, and for what will probably be at least, well, we'll see whether there will be a 1-stop, 2-stop, even a 3-stop on pure paper around this track. We will have to see. So then, after the penalties have been applied, it will be Slick actually starting this Grand Prix from the very front. It's Barney Dog second, Axel third, Burton fourth, Okurjay fifth, Hydrant sixth. Then we have Zazon Bojka, Revoked Gatekeeper, and the J-Lol with Tablet Storm 11th ahead of the pair of AlphaTauris of Gupta and Pujdog, and Rubbo Snipes 14th. Okurjay, the only driver on the hards, everyone else has chosen the mediums. Whether that bodes for a 1-stop, we will have to see, but with the safety car that can be applied around this track, we saw it in the sprint twice, so do not be surprised if we see the unexpected that has become a theme of this racing division. It's going to be such a fantastic race, but make sure you don't go anywhere because, well, from what we've seen in qualifying, from what we have seen in the sprints, this is going to be one thrilling encounter. You can see the predicted pit stop strategies, mediums and hards. That could be the ultimate strategy, it seems, from the drivers, and with many drivers actually starting on the mediums, it does seem that is the way forward in this Grand Prix. Slick lining up on the grid as the rain starts to fall. Oh my, oh my, oh my, are we having a Nürburgring 2007 moment here? Could the rain be falling when the drivers least wanted it? We have rain in the air. We have a fervent crowd in the stands. We have fervent fever rippling and bubbling across the scene, and we have an epic Mexico City Grand Prix ahead of us. What lines will be written in these next 36 laps of Formula Premier Go racing around Mexico City? Who can eke out the start? It looks like the Williams of the J-Lo struggling off the line. Barney Dog there trying to challenge Slick, heading towards turn 1. Axel challenging the Haas as well. What is it going to be going into the first corner? It looks like Slick still leads. Barney Dog retaining second place, but Axel into turn 2. He's troubling the McLaren. The McLaren edging the Alpha. He's put into a spin, and after running in the podium places in the opening metres of this race, he drops down to the very back. Zazon Bojka passing Burton as they head on towards turn 4. The McLaren to the outside, side with Hydrant. The man that started the sprint from pole is forced off the road through turn 5, and then you have Burton going down the inside of Zazon Bojka. What's a move from Burton? Opportunistic to find there from him, but Zazon Bojka coming back, bashing back past Burton and reclaiming that 6th place. Wild start on the opening lap of this Mexico City Grand Prix. Gupta running out wide, Revoked senses an opportunity. The Haas looking to progress past as they race on towards the stadium section. Pujdog launching an attack down the inside, contact between him and Burton, possibly Hydrants as well. But now the two AlphaTauris going side by side, and it's manic on the opening lap. Pujdog ahead of Revoked. Gupta is losing a hands for the places. The man that's won 5 races out of 5 at the start of this season drops down into P12. Seems like he did start this race from that position. He's going to look to claim back a place on Axel, running side by side the Alpha, who started well inside the top 3, is now down into P12, but Gupta runs in deep into turn 1 and the Alpha claims back the place. Robbo Snipes, now Gupta. The rain seems to have stopped quite a little bit, so the drivers will get some grip back, but there is still certainly some rain lurking around. Gupta ahead of Robbo Snipes. We can see the Ferrari slotting in behind the AlphaTauri, with the J-Lol running 14th and last on lap 2 of this Grand Prix. But Barney Dog, wow, he is keeping up with Slick. Slick, after winning the sprint it seems, starting this race from the very front, Barney Dog qualified second for the sprint and is currently second on the right. Storm taking the place on Gatekeeper, and the Red Bull car ripples past the Williams and up into fourth place. DRS will be enabled on the next tour of this race. But the Red Bull, after starting 11th, is already inside the top four, and it's been the start of dreams from him. DRS enabled on lap 3 of 36 of this race. Let's see, although DRS won't be enabled down this start-finish straight just yet, who can make a move. Doesn't seem like anyone is able to close in just yet, as DRS not quite in use, as the detection point is before the start-finish line. But Pudge Dog running out wide through turn 1 revokes. You can see that AlphaTauri rear wing running ahead of him. He wants to close him down, and what a fine exit. He gets off of turn 3, racing towards turn 4. The Haas trying to grant himself the inside line, but slots in behind the AlphaTauri and will continue on in 10th place. Of course, we are now no longer running in the sprint, so points are now distributed from 1st down to 10th place. Revokes would be claiming a point for 10th place, a solitary point, but a point nonetheless. The rain is still very much in the air around Mexico City, and you can see Pudge Dog really struggling for grip on board Revokes. The pair of them do have DRS, but the Haas with a much better exit, racing towards the stadium section, and he's going to dance and dazzle around the outside. He runs off the road, but he leaps ahead of the AlphaTauri. Revokes then up into 9th place and leaves Auri in his wake. And Gatekeeper then struggling through the Mansell curve, and the McLaren jumping ahead of him. So Zazon Bodka up into 5th. Gatekeeper down to 6th. As Hydrants is now running in behind the Williams, using the slipstream and DRS. The Williams, that exit off of the final corner has really hurt the Williams, and he's now down, demoted into P7 as Barney Dog now. We follow his progress as he closes in on Slick, heading towards turn 4. The Haas still impervious from all the pressure applied to him out in front. On board with Burton now as him and the Williams of Gatekeeper run side by side going into turn 4. The inside line turns into the outside line into turn 5. She's forced off track, but she collides with Gatekeeper, who is forced into the wall and his front wing. And a welcomed twist for the Williams in this race as Pudge Dog is replaced by Gupta and the entity AlphaTauri battle. Revokes now closing in on Burton. The AlphaTauri, after colliding with Gatekeeper, she now has it all to do, possibly with a tampered front wing as well. Gupta! Oh, Gupta, what a move! So adroit, so perfectly executed, and out of absolutely nothing, he dazzles into P8 and will look to make that P7. The rain looks to be intensifying around this track, but that is not going to curtail Gupta as he runs side by side with Burton and then runs ahead. But Revokes trying to launch an attack on the Aston Martin going into turn 1. She runs deep, does Burton. Revokes utilising his racecraft though through turn 2 and into turn 3 to battle past Burton. Axel waiting in the wings. Let's see if he can make a move, but he's actually passed by Pudge Dog going into turn 4. Absolutely manic stuff in the first few laps of this Mexico City Grand Prix as a Curdray, after running so well in the opening exchanges of this race, drops down the order into P7, now behind Gupta. And as the rain increases, as the grip dwindles, and as challenges fall, like Zazon Bodka, DRS has been disabled. Hydrants has been passed by Gupta. Gupta up into P4. His confidence is unrestrained, gaining 8 places from where he started in this race. The heavens above have found their fortunes. The rain is in the air. The drivers are going to take the chance to pit to intermediate tyres. With DRS disabled, the race leader Slick takes the chance to pit. He will rejoin this race. Seems down in P7. It will be P7 ahead of Zazon Bodka then. So after that spin for the McLaren, He's already a pit stop behind our race leader, but the Haas with cold tyres may be hounded by the McLaren. You can really see the rain has settled on this track, and Slick now down into P7. Looks like he's on tyres. But what twist? Which twist comes next? And we have yellow flags in sector 2. It seems like Barney has lost his front wing from the race lead. Oh, this is morphing into a race of attrition right now. Barney is without a front wing. He's going to have to change it during the pit stops as Revoke's leaping ahead of Hydrant. Hydrant now dropping down into P4. Revoke's running off the track. But what on earth is going on around Mexico City? This is absolute madness. Absolute madness on Barney. Getting so close to hitting the wall on pit lane entry. And the pair of them hit Gupta to the inters. Barney's going to have to replace his front wing, and after so much promise, he is going to lose so very much. Slick now leads this race and is going to look utterly serene. Tabulate Storm up to second. Gupta will re-emerge in this race. Close, it seems, to... Well, a Kerdre in fourth. Does have tyres that are well up to temperature. So it does seem then that Gupta now runs in third ahead of a Kerdre, ahead of Barney Dog, but Revokes very close to the McLaren on pit lane exit, almost in a tap. And after what should have been second place for Barney Dog, he's now running outside the top 5. On board with Revokes, he has tyres that are up to temperature. Barney Dog struggling just a little bit. So then Barney Dog also twitchy off of the exits of the S's section. Still under, well, he has passed Revokes, well, he is ahead of Revokes, sorry, but he is perilously close to making a mistake, which will mean that Revokes runs ahead of him. My oh my, even in this race of attrition, Slick now out in front after starting this race from the very front. He is, well, looking utterly dominant out in front. The rain has fallen, drama has unfolded, but it is started from the front, running out in front so far. Nine seconds is the gap. Slick is enlarging his lead to the lead over Tabulate Storm. Looks utterly dominant. Gupta 4 seconds behind in third. Kerdre fourth. And this is looking absolutely wondrous for the Haas. Seems like there are no battles transpiring out on track at the moment. Burton now earning herself a time penalty due to track limit violations. She runs in P11, so that's not going to do her any good whatsoever. Already out of the points after starting inside the top 5. And now with a time penalty which is going to compromise her race. We have yellow flags out in sector 3, and that's Hydrant spinning through the Mansell curve. The Red Bull, after taking pole position, is now down into 13th place, and the shriek of agony is thunderous and dejecting. board with Hydrant trying to repass Saison Bodka after that spin. Barney Dog, now after getting his tyres up to temperature, is closing in on a curd raise. Revokes running out wide. That allows Excel to come within a second of him. And of course, that will certainly not aid overtaking. But in these wet conditions, talent really comes abroad. Burton closing in on Pudge Dog in the battle for P9. So then on lap 10 of 36, it is Slick running out in front. He is running a fine race. Tablet Storm second, Gupta third, a Curdray fourth. Then we have Barney Dog in fifth, but the McLaren is really starting to grow so large and so vivid in the Ferrari's mirrors. Yellow flags out in sector 2. That Saison Bodka into the wall through the S's, bringing out the virtual safety car on lap 10 of lap 11 of 36. My apologies. And the action just calms down for a brief moment. So then, the action calms down for a brief moment. Then we get back underway. Acing this virtual safety car restart is going to be critical. And who can do just that? If you're in a tight battle like Pudge Dog is with Burton, or was with in Burton, he's now climbed right up to the gearbox of Robert Snipe. So he's taken the opportunity rather well. In the battle for 8th place, it's the Ferrari that holds the upper hand right now, but for how much longer? Pudge then earning himself a time penalty due to track limit violations. You can see it through the S's. You want to open up the track as much as possible, but even a millimetre off circuits will be punished by the stewards on this strict track limits assessment here in Formula Premiere. The drivers have to be careful with track limits, and we've learnt that with Pudge Dog and many other examples throughout the race. We've seen many penalties, not only today or in this race, but in the sprint as well. Keeping it on the road is absolutely imperative. But Gatekeeper proved my point once more. He runs 13th and last at the moment, and it has just not been his day so far. So then Slick, after running so dominantly out in front, now has a time penalty to his name. It's only 3 seconds, so that only cuts his lead by a third, but any seconds given away in this race could prove pivotal. Barney Dog, we ride on board with him now, following in the wheel tracks of a Curdray in the battle for 5th. Again, like I said earlier, no DRS, but if he can find the right line, maximise his exit off the Mansell curve, he will be in a promising place to take over the reins on this next. Out in front between Slick and Tablet Storm, 10 seconds. That's of course before the penalties are applied. go then. So with Kurtzer ahead of Barney Dog, it doesn't seem like the McLaren is able to make an impression on him just yet. But the laps as they tick by, and with the cars getting lighter and even more lighter, the action should be enriched. Now we have Robbo Snipes being passed, it seems, by Pudge Dog, so the out into 8th place, and Burton looking to follow suit. Is she able to make the move into turn 4? No, but the Ferrari goes in quite deep. The Aston looking to execute the move, putting down the power off of the exit of turn 5, going into turn 6. This could be a very sweet move if she can pull it off, but as they put down the power once more, the Ferrari races away and maintains that 9th place. The J-Lo now very much in the battle. He runs 11th, half a second off of 9th place it seems right now, but Pudge Dog utilising his confidence over Robbo Snipes and is pulling away. Barney Dog also earning himself a time penalty. The only drivers not to have a time penalty to their name so far is Tablet Storm, Gupta and the J-Lo. That's on lap 14 of 36. It's going to be, well, tricky to keep it on the road and avoid further penalties. But Burton and Robbo Snipes now side by side. The Ferrari ahead of the Aston. But for how much longer? The Aston down the inside into turn 1. The J-Lo waiting in the wings through turns 2 and 3, trying to open up the line through the apex of turn 3. But he actually loses out so much on exit. So Burton 9th, Robbo Snipes 10th. The J-Lo remains 11th. So, to start, lap 15 of 36, Slick now just south of 11 seconds in the lead. Tablet Storm second, but Gupta closing in on the Red Bull in the battle for P2. Right on board with Gupta's Alpha Tarian. Sorry guys, by the way, just having to sort out a couple of things. I will just have my full attention in just a sec. So now it seems like we have yellow flags out on track. Seems like Gatekeeper has just nursed his car into the pits and retired from this race. So that's a great shame there for the Williams in a race that has exploded into life. So many crashes and so much action. He has lost out horridly so far. But Barney's still within a second of a Kurtzer. He's just really not eaten into the deficits he has the Ferrari as of yet, and he's not able to lay a glove upon him. Let's ride on board. Let's ride off board Gupta once more, following in the wheel tracks of Tablet Storm. You can see the line he's taking through the corners, and he's actually maximising the exit rather well. Putting down the power continuously. Looks so smooth on board Gupta. He has such prowess on the throttle. But right now it's not enough to make an inroad on Tabulate Storm. And after starting P12, he runs P3. Make that a net P2 if penalties are to be applied now. Tabulate Storm granting himself a time penalty. But Gupta is waiting to pounce and make his move. The Red Bull occupying second place, 11.5 seconds behind Slick. But Gupta, how much is he willing to sacrifice in this battle with the Red Bull? He knows a record is on the line. The record that he continues to register through each passing event. But in this battle for P2, can he put himself in decent shape to close down Slick? It's the inside into turn 1, it's the outside into turn 2, and he's going to try and set up a switchback. And he puts down the power off of the exit of turn 3. It's smooth, it's slick, and it is sublime. Because as they race towards turn 4, Tabulate Storm having to rejoin in battle behind the AlphaTauri, but Gupta going in deep. Does the Red Bull have a response? Cutting underneath the Alpha through the exit of turn 5. He does not have a response. A move indicative of Gupta's quality in a spin to Tabulate Storm's expense. Lighting up the rear tyres off of the exit of the double apex. From being within touching distance to being an ominous disadvantage behind Gupta now. Tabulate Storm running P3, but with confidence to be found. Gupta, like I said, up into second place, is 12.5 seconds behind Slick. Okurda is still ahead of Barney Dog. The McLaren looks a lot closer through the stadium section, and as the Ferrari understeers through the hairpin, the McLaren grins noticeably. Through the final corner onto the start-finish straight, Barney Dog closing in on Okurda. And how does it look for the McLaren? Again, he just does not have that top-end speed. He has the confidence. Through the corner, down the straight, he cannot make an inroad on Okurda, who is running a superb defence and occupation of his 4th place. But Slick leading out in front. His lead nearly 13 seconds. And on lap 18 of 36, halfway through the race, under treacherous conditions here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, Slick is in a league of one. So starting lap 19 of 36, the laps tick down and the dominance increases. Slick still in the hot seat and looks down on his rivals with joy. I've said it before, I don't want to jinx it for Barney, but again he looks closer to Okurda and the Ferrari starting to struggle on his tyres, but the rear end of that McLaren stepping out of line. The tyre temperatures must be getting to boiling level right now on lap 20 of 36 here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Slick first, Gupta still second, remaining at that 12 to 13 second margin behind our race leader. Tabulate Storm third, ahead of Okurda, and Barney fifth. Still no epically close battles out in track. Barney is straddling to around a second deficit occurred rate, and we know down the stretch just doesn't have the top end speed to treble occurred rate. It does seem like the skies may just start to be clearing up. The weather could step aside, it seems, and we could see dry running once more. The rain is still falling, but seems to be a lot more light in the sky, and possibly hope for the runners that are struggling on the inters. Continue to ride on board Barney Dog's McLaren. You can see how much input he's actually having to put. Through each passing corner, and the Occurred getting another time penalty. Let's just have a quick look at the time penalties so far. And it is actually Barney Dog that has a greater penalty to be served. To make the move on track, he does seem quicker than the Ferrari, but he just cannot make a move past. We saw in real life Formula 1, overtaking around this track is tricky. So Barney Dog in the wet will have to execute his elegance behind the wheel to displace the Ferrari into fourth place. Under brakes going into turn one, the McLaren looking a lot more confident as it stands. We know that the tyres aren't necessarily going to be able to last to the end of the race. It's going to be tight. Degradation will creep in, and the drivers might start to struggle on these sets of intermediate tyres. You can see the rear end of the cars stepping out noticeably. And it does seem as well there is a drier line. I mean, it's still noticeably wet, but there is a drier line forming. So could there just be dry race action being able to be realised once more in this Mexico City Grand Prix? The stadium section, the Foro Sol, which houses around 50,000 spectators. It is a jubilant, euphoric setting, and a Barney Dog pitting then to get rid of his first set of intermediates. He's going to switch to another set. Could this trigger action amongst the pack then to switch to another set? How long the rain persists for and how long the track remains wet, that could have a significant outcome on the strategies of these drivers, whether to pit to another set of inters. But Barney Dog is going to drop down, it seems, into 10th place. He's going to be almost side by side with Hydrant. Who's going to emerge ahead? It is going to be a Barney Dog, actually by a quite substantial margin. He'll have to bring his tyres in though, and Hydrant will not want to be wasting any time behind him. He will want to pass him as soon as possible. But whether he can pull that off, we will have to see. The McLaren running out wide. So then Barney Dog still just about 8/10 ahead of Hydrant. Seems like he may just find confidence in these inters very, very shortly. And you can still see the light just growing in the skies, with only so much action to be written from now to the conclusion of this Grand Prix. It seems probable that, well, it seems probable that moves are going to have to be made and strategy decisions are going to have to be executed. goes Axel. He's currently in 10th place as Pudge Dog in 11th. Robbo Snipes in 12th. Slick still leads. Gupta is second. The gap now at 10.5 seconds. But then Gupta going through the Forest Soul. Slick is pitting then. Is he going to serve his time penalty in the pits right now? Gupta is, well, I thought he was going to join him in the pits, but he's going to take over the lead. So Slick, they are going to switch his tyres. He's not going to serve his time penalty in the pit lane. So 3 seconds will be applied to his time at the end of the race. Tabula Storm pitting. Revokes also pitting. Gupta leading this race by about 12 seconds now. So under wet conditions, 52 seconds. Around that is the time spent in the pit lane. Gupta leading out in front as Excel actually passing the J-Lol who has pitted. The Williams putting on another set of inters. Now we can see Burton in third, running just ahead of the Storm. This is going to be such an immense fight between these two. Burton, who has had a quite eventful, action-packed race. He runs in the podium places provisionally ahead of Tabula Storm. But for how much longer on younger tyres? You think the Red Bull will be able to make a move relatively briskly? Whether that comes about, we'll have to see. But off of the exit of the S's, you are seeing the grip, the confidence being exuded by Tabula Storm. It just slots in behind the Aston Martin, going into the Forest Soul, but going into the hairpin. Now again he thinks about a move. Again he is reluctant, and the more he is indecisive, the more he dithers behind the Alpha Aston Martin, the more a curve rate comes into view through the Mansell curve. Burton, she does hit. Tabula Storm coming round the Mansell curve to seize third place once more. A curve rate up into fourth. Barney Dog fifth. It is as you were, at least between Storm Occurdre and Barney Dog. Of course, we do have Gupta and Slick swapping positions as Gupta has not pitted just yet. Whether he's going to the end of this Grand Prix on these tyres, that would be an almighty effort and one that will have to be seen. But he leads by just about 10 seconds with just over 11 laps of this race remaining. Gupta will continue in the lead as we start lap 26 of 36 here in Mexico City. Slick reducing the deficit to under 10 seconds now. Tabula Storm in third, Occurdre fourth. Barney Dog still within a second of the Ferrari in this particular battle. Burton rejoining this race in 8th place ahead of the J-Lo, the Williams, with tyres that are more in race mode right now with temperature in them, trying to trouble the Aston Martin's occupation of 8th place. Pudge very much in this battle, but we started with 14. We're down to 12, unfortunately. Zazon Bodka and Gatekeeper both exiting this race. Zazon Bodka's exits bringing out the first and only safety car we have seen so far in this Grand Prix. But it's a Grand Prix that has been largely dominated by Slick, but Gupta, after not making a second pit stop as of yet, he does lead this Grand Prix and provisionally would make it 6 wins out of 6 at the start of the season after starting well outside the top 10. And here comes the J-Lo then, really troubling Burton with tyres that are a lap older, the Aston on the back foot. Coming off of the exit of turn 3, the traction in that Aston is showing as she pulls away from the J-Lo. Yellow flags now out on track. I think it may have been Pudge Dog who went for a spin through the exit of turn 3, hydrant, displacing him. And up into the points now for the man that started the sprint from pole position, but ever since it has been inversely proportional to what he would have hoped for. And the J-Lob taking a place on well before the S's, so the traction he must have had of the double apex must have been serene, or the Aston may have just made a small mistake. Nonetheless, the J-Lob now runs in 8th place. So let's ride on board with him. Let's see how he feels with these intermediate tyres. Of course, they are many laps older than slick. So the confidence, grip and speed would be rather constrained. But he is running a solid race. And this may be his only throw of the dice if he is to win this Mexico City Grand Prix. Slick does have a time penalty to be served, but Gupta just has not had the pace to match Slick ever since his disastrous safety car restart in or during the sprint. Slick though still eating into that gap, now south of 8 seconds. This is a really intriguing battle. 9 laps left, about soon 8.5 laps left of this Grand Prix, and we could be in for a nail-biting ending to this Grand Prix. Through the Mansell curve then for Burton. 0.6 of a second behind the J-Lob, but that is quite a handsome exit. And as they race down the long start-finish straights, she continues to make J-Lob, but not enough to really trouble the Williams driver. Gupta still out in front. Slick continues to pursue him. This may be quite a laborious task for Slick to pass, or to catch up, pass, and extend a lead over Gupta. That quells the time penalty it looks like he is going to have to serve at the conclusion of this race. Lap 29 of 36. If you've just joined us for this Mexico City Grand Prix, well, the phases of this race have come and gone, and it leaves Gupta in the race lead on tyres that are 17 laps older than Slick. The AlphaTauri leads with a 6.5 second advantage, and with a time penalty for his nearest competitor to be served. So let's say the gap is at around 9.5 seconds. Gupta could be closing in on win 6 out of 6 in Season 3 of Formula Premiere. So starting lap 30 of 36, 7 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. Gupta still clinging on to the race leader. Kerdre still clinging on to 4th place. Barney Dog again. This side of the Ferrari rear wing has become a fixture of a sight for the McLaren. Racing through the Mansell curve, trying to maximise the exits, which doesn't really look too pretty for him. The Kerdre looking to maintain that 5th place down the long start-finish straight. Revokes, he's very much in this battle as well for 4th place. He's only 1.5 seconds behind Barney Dog, but on the brakes going into turn 1. Kurjre looks confident. Kurjre looks strong running in 4th place. Barney Dog asking the questions. Kurjre providing the answers. When the McLaren losing the rear end slightly, that could have been disastrous there for Barney Dog, but keeping it just about on road. He continues to run in 5th place, and Slick continues to run in 2nd place, but with 6 laps left remaining of this race, does he have enough time to catch, pass and stretch a sizable enough advantage to Gupta? This is going to be a nail-biting ending in a race that binds so much drama, so much quality between the top 2 in the championship. Gupta leads the standings by 44 points. After winning each of the first 5 races so far this season, Slick is hell-bent on passing Gupta and winning this race. It is poised on a knife edge here in Mexico City. The track stands on an edge. Slick, through every corner, closes in on Gupta, and this would be his first win of the season, the first non-Gupta win of the season. But could it be here? Could it be here that Slick makes the inroads on Gupta? Possibly not. He earns himself a time penalty for track limit violations, and that could be critical. He has a 6-second time penalty. The effective gap is now 11 seconds. And Gupta might just be closing in. Slick is eliminating the deficit between himself and Gupta. It's over a second on this gap, the advantage Slick has enjoyed, but that time penalty could very well cost him. Lap 32 of 36, 5 more tours remaining of this race. Barney Dog still behind Kurjre. These two battling it out still for 4th place. Folks, now within a second of the McLaren of Barney Dog. This could be a 3-way scrap for 4th place in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. Barney Dog thinking about to move into the final braking zone of the circuit. But he gets a hellish exit through the Mansell curve, and the boat is waiting in the wings and has to take evasive action and almost gets a massive tank slapper. But these two are going to battle it out down the start-finish straight. Revokes closing in as they race towards turn 1. The McLaren is ahead and remains ahead of the Haas. And Revokes taking evasive action has saved the McLaren there as he remains in 5th place. After starting outside of the top 10, after starting from 12th place, Gupta, well, this possibility of race win looked improbable. But it could just very much come about in the most striking, the most startling way possible. Lap 33 of 36, the gap is 4 seconds. And Slick is running out of opportunities. Axel, another time penalty for him, running in 7th place. It looks like he'll be able to preserve that 7th place right now. Having said that, the J-Lol is very much within the rear wing. Into the stadium section of Forest Soul. Axel remaining ahead of the J-Lol, showing his confidence in the Williams, rounding the Mansell curve, the rear end just getting away from him slightly, but does the exit look good enough to challenge the Alpha down the start-finish straight? Into turn 1, Axel remains ahead. Burton still behind the J-Lo and hiding to fight as well. A multi-car scrap for the final points paying positions in this Grand Prix. A multi-car scrap for 4th place in this Grand Prix, but Gupta, starting lap 34 of 36, leads by 3 seconds. Into turn 1, Slick is just going to throw caution to the wind now. If he wants the win, he is, well, going to have to push like hell. Burton now getting another time penalty as the J-Lo and Excel through the final couple of corners. Excel losing the pace too. The J-Lo and then colliding with Burton, the rear wing. Injured there as Hydrant passes the pair of them and up into 8th place. Burton 9th, Axel 10th. And Axel comes into the pitch, which may just give Hudstall the advantage. But Gupta leading by 2.5 seconds. Slick has run him close, but doesn't seem like it's close enough. What has been a thrilling race so far. Many twists and turns have transpired and Revokes meeting the wall. He loses his front wing. He could lose a massive chance of 8 championship points in this Grand Prix. On the penultimate lap of this race, that could be despair for the Haas there, who has driven such a strong race thus far. He may just drop down the order, but Gupta leading. It's now down to second is the gap between him and Slick. The Haas has a 6-second time penalty to overcome. It seems like his chance has come and his chance has gone. But there are still the final nail-biting moments to be realised. On lap 35 of 36, these two have been in a league of their own. Gupta, after starting outside the top 10, has made excellent progress. Progress to the very front. Slick has pondered, claiming his first win of the season, and Gupta being overtaken by Slick through the final corner. He may have just hit the wall, and he has 1 lap to not be overcome by 6 seconds by the final lap of this Mexico City Grand Prix, with Slick in the ascendancy on road. But Gupta, when time penalties are set to be applied, it looks like it will be his race win once more. He battles away with Slick, despite being ties that are 17 laps younger. This has been one of the most masterful drives Gupta has ever produced, and he looks to pass Slick going into turn 4. Slick running out wide once more. It's almost like he's trying to frustrate Gupta, but he knows these time penalties are going to cost him horridly. Revokes, still without a front wing, is not going to come into the pits. He'll be passed by the J-Lo easily. And the J-Lo up into 6th place. Revokes utilising the slipstream, and without a front wing, he's actually lost a lot of drag. But it looks like Excel exits the race as Slick leads. Gupta is second. These two have been in a league of one so far in this race. They have driven to demonstrably high standards, but as Slick will be the driver to cross the line first, after starting outside the top 10, the winner's chance looked improbable, it looked implausible, but to win, exclusive to Gupta's ability, has shone through and it has penetrated the opposition. Again, and again, Gupta delivers, and Gupta is victorious. If not now, when? If not here, when? Of course it was Gupta. Slick came close, but not close enough. His 6th second in the end has dearly cost him as Tabula Storm crosses to finish on the podium here in Mexico City. Kurdrake 4th, Barney Dog 5th, and it will be the J-Lol in 6th ahead of Revokes, and Revokes actually looking quite competitive on this final lap. The team will come through the Mansell curve. In 7th place on the road, he will drop down to most probably P10. And that brings to close a dramatic Mexico City Grand Prix, and Pudge Dog bashing the barriers off of the exit of the S's. But the confetti spirals into the air as Gupta strives to supremacy once more. There is your race winner, Gupta. Well, when does his quality end? It's boundless, it's limitless. And it sees him climb to the top of the victory podium once more. There is the face, there is the name, there is the victor for the 6th time this season. This perfect run doesn't seem to end for Gupta. The AlphaTauri winning once more and extending his championship lead. From 12th to victory. It is quite remarkable. He is quite remarkable. And this league never ceases to deliver moments of matchless mastery. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. What another thrilling instalment of Formula Premiere that was. Gupta is victorious for the 6th time this season and is inching towards championship success. Slick comes home 2nd ahead of Tabula Storm. 2 drivers who started outside the top 10, finishing on the podium. That's all you need to know about this race, really. Through the rain and the mayhem, it was the establishment that succeeded. Gupta is the establishment, and Gupta is just simply serene. That brings to a close the Mexico City Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a thrilling ride, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so very much for your company, and make sure you return when we return here at Formula Premiere.